I work with Cards for Kids, working with global corporations and pediatric patients, all the kind of legal stuff that has to go through, like all kinds of permissions and anything like that. So I always like to double check being better safe than sorry. So before I get into anything on this end, did you guys have any specific questions or things that you wanted to touch on?
Well,
Not
I
my,
did.
oh, go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Steve. Go
Oh,
ahead.
okay, I was going to just say that I don't really have many questions. We have built cards for your business before, and I just want we're going to be doing it again for the next in the coming 3 months through our company. So I just want to make sure like that we're doing everything as properly so that the cards we do make do go to children or veterans or seniors.
Okay. Yes, that's great. First, my first reply to that is thank you. There's a lot of people who I don't know why it's kind of like one and done. We did it. We hear so much. We did it. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. It was the best time ever. Where'd you go? Like I thought you said it was great. But we don't ever hear from them again. So it's always exciting when groups are doing it and holding it again. The biggest thing, how I say is kind of let's let's make it negative. Um, Cards for Kids, I started it, I found it. You can't see because of this beautiful background, but our global headquarters is AKA my condo. I'm running off right from here. You guys can't see, but I'm surrounded by boxes and packages as I'm sitting here in my living room. And what I say is it's focused from my experience. And with this, it's I gentleman with epilepsy and impacted myself, my family, and all different kinds of medical conditions. And with that, taking that experience in mind and keeping that in mind as we're reaching the children, the families, and all the different people we serve. And so a lot of times when people, I wrote a blog post about this and not sure how much it was read and held on to. But a lot of times when, first thing you're thinking of someone in the hospital making a card, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Either of you guys, what's the first, when you're giving someone a card in the hospital, what's the traditional?
I know you want to say get well soon, but
I don't
that's
say
not
that.
the message. But that's the message we don't want to send.
Exactly. Get well soon. And it's something we can't, because it's like a lot of the kids and people we're serving have those kinds of long-term conditions, something, that makes what I have look minute. And then also trying to say, people will say stuff like, one that you got to tell is we got a story written about us from one of our hospitals. Actually, the hospital where my sister works at wrote a blog post about us, about a little girl who got really upset when she got her card. Because the card said, you're one tough cookie. And she was saying, like, why does everyone keep saying I'm a tough cookie? I really like my cookies soft and sweet, you know?
Huh.
So it's
Mhm.
like you have to realize these kids are taking it literally. People are trying to say, oh, you're overcoming these things and blah, blah, blah. But instead, just making it more of a fun card rather than referring to that because these kids you're telling them what's on this card and they are taking it literal. And that's kind of what's going on. So, we can't, those kind of cards that say you're one tough cookie, you can't really, because I don't know if we're really going to send that to, some VA veterans if they really want to hear that kind of message, and then um, the children may take it literal. And then another thing, kind of like our overall message, what we say is like instead of demands, say kind of more proclamations. So instead of like stay strong or keep fighting or anything like that, just kind of say like you're strong, you're awesome, you're amazing. Something where it's not like keep doing something or I know you're going through this, keep going, keep blah, 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 but instead just saying something like, you're beautiful, you're awesome, you're amazing. The card that's right here. Um, what did one firefly say to the other? got a glow now, you know, little jokes like that. And that's something just to spark some smiles on the people who were served. Those are just some kind of a other thing is kind of a top line is recommendations, if possible, using cardstock rather than construction paper, because we've heard from several of our partners who've reached out, and partners and parents, you know, telling us about how their children have been keeping the cards in their backpack. You know, some parents always like kept it in their backpacks and have been showing all their kids, all their classmates, and using it to decorate. So these cards aren't simply something that's handed and looked at and then recycled. You know, no one would ever throw it away, but it's something that's often kept for a long time. I had another family reach out to me and tell me that, you know, for every one of their follow-up appointments, they would, you know, the parents' phone, keys, wallet, the child would grab their card and take it with them to every follow-up doctor's appointment that they had. So it's the kind of thing where cards that are on that more quality paper that'll last longer are appreciated, because some of the kids have these lasting conditions and want them to hold on and be able to appreciate them for a while.
Okay, I am the regional director of a group of women, a nonprofit. And one of the items that we do is a arts and humanities component. And I had asked the young lady to check the site out, but she couldn't come back and give me any answers. So I guess she read it, but she didn't process it well. So what you just said to me was very helpful, because we're going to I have Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and Georgia. And all of our women in those chapters in those states are going to get with kids and teach them how to do the cards. And we're going to use cardstock. We've taken classes from a lady named Brandy Cox. And so we've learned how to make these cards out of quality paper, but we want to ensure that we had the correct sentiment. And what you're saying now was very helpful to me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's so it's something I was doing some Georgia is out of control. It's I don't know. So there's a blog post about it titled Southern Hospitality. Trying to figure out what exactly is going on with Georgia. And I just realized they're just nice. And that's called Southern Hospitality. And we have a strong presence there. And it's the big thing is with these people who are making the cards, you know, they're working together. It's a lot of fun, and same thing, Lee, like people make the cards, sign their names, and then sign also the location. You know, from Dunstall and you know, from Jean in Georgia, or Atlanta, or something like that. Because yes, we do have a strong presence. We have at least 2 partnerships in each state, but you know, some of these cards may be going to Alaska, Hawaii. You know, we got the videos going to be coming from Indonesia. You know, India, like, well, when the kids who are receiving the cards love kids and seniors who are receiving the cards love cards that are coming from far away. And that's they're much more often deemed much more valuable than it seemed like this is coming from a distance.
Yeah, I know personally, we've done this 2 times with our organization already. And I did do some research on your website and I found a lot of the information, but we never signed off on the cards before because I wasn't aware of it. But now we know that we will do that.
Yeah, it's a big difference. I had one parent reach out, like it was a special delivery that we sent. So we sent cards from different locations, and they were talking about how they brought out a map and were showing on the map, like, you know, here's where we live and here's where this card came, you know, this card came from here, and that's a big a big excitement thing for them because it's, you know, a lot of people want to, that's one of the benefits of our organization is a lot of people want to make cards and everyone wants to reach, you know, there's a hospital, a whole block of hospitals 2 blocks from my house, you know, and it's like, oh, I want to make sure they're okay, but it's so much more fulfilling and so much more exciting for those kids if they're getting something from Hawaii or Alaska, or, you know, Karen in Australia, who's one of, you know, getting cards from around the world, getting a big difference. And the thing too is, well, before I'm putting this out there, is if people are signing the cards, asking them to only sign their first name and location, partnering with some VA hospitals and military things, and that's something that we have to sign off on. Is, you know, it's just, yeah, they don't want for the some of the different situations that the veterans have gone through. Think it's safer for everyone just to have first names only on the cards. And that's when we said we agreed and we would tell all of our artists to only include that.
Could you please pronounce your last name?
Wonkwo.
Not okay. Thank you.
Wonkwo. Yeah. And then I can go through some of our kind of like a little overview background.
Okay.
If there were other questions, I can touch on those. Okay. I'll do some of these may be a little outdated here, but we'll go through. Please, any point in time, just stop me if there are questions. But the first thing is, you know, our name is trademarked and all of that, but it is outdated, you know, because we mentioned sending cards to veterans, sending cards to seniors, sending cards, all that. So we're doing much more than sending just cards for kids, but, you know, just got back from Indianapolis, we were sending electronics, so doing more than that. But it's kind of what we're saying here is like sending cards to children, families, seniors, veterans, and not just in hospitals, but also like looking into places such as foster homes. Because it's kind of from the experience that understanding that a lot of times people, when they're looking to make donations, they often look into the largest pediatric hospitals in their area, and that's where they make their donations to. So when we're making partnerships with hospitals, it's often trying to find some of the small to mid-sized ones that get overlooked by others. And then it's a little bit more work on this end, but understanding and trying to put in that more time for the people we're serving and the people who are helping us to make sure that these cards are valued. And then unfortunate that schools is on here, but whenever there's, you know, hearing the school shooting, that was we'll see it on one of the next slide, but like it was the first school to ever, or first group to ever make cards for us outside of Chicago, was an elementary school in Connecticut. And so then when Sandy Hook happened, I reached out to the father, like, hey, just wanted to double check, you know, I know there's a lot of elementary. He's like, oh, okay. Yeah, don't worry, it's not my child's school, but my niece and nephew went there to Sandy Hook. And I'm like, don't worry, what? So he connected, and that was the first time. So ever since, every time there's any kind of impact with schools, we try to send some cards there as well. Then, you know, we have all about handmade greeting cards. So there's, I don't know, there's people who, I think it's, you know, got a lot that are sitting right here in front of me, people who send, this is being recorded, so I won't say names, but well-known card companies, you know, are purchasing their cards, filling something in and sending them. Those we can't use because it's all, the second point here is creativity and handmade cards. So that's what we promise all of our partners, is that they'll all be 100% handmade. So you'll get, probably you guys will hear people saying, oh, I'm not creative and I can't do it. I'd rather just download and do something like that. But, you know, I think the story that I have that's most memorable is when, you know, Cards for Kids, we probably still spelled our name with S's, and we weren't corporate, you know, weren't a certified nonprofit probably. I know we didn't have shirts, but I was going around hand delivering the cards and explaining to this. I had this whole thing where I was telling kids, like, well, at my company, some people draw pictures for their job, aka the creative department. And then some people do more numbers and don't draw pictures, like our engineering and electronic. So I was trying to explain why some cards were not as good. And I was explaining to him, little boy interrupted me and said, well, I can tell they tried really hard, and grabbed the card from me and ran to go show his parents because he was excited. So it's the kind of thing with these inspiring handmade that means a lot to the people we're serving. So the next one is a little bit outdated because we're now well over 400,000, double that count. But when we've sent cards to over 50 different countries around the world, and it's consistently increasing. So we have how this all run through here, like people around the world are making the cards, but then in terms of the back end, how it's done is we have people make the cards, and then we have events. So people make the cards, mail them to us. Then here's where we like proof them and make sure that they're all appropriate, have the positive messages. Take the pictures, post them on the social sites, and that's kind of one of the ways that we're currently right now, people are seeing that their cards are received and also getting notifications. But we do encourage everyone to, with those packages, include an email address, because we're working on a process to set things up with Salesforce, where you'll be able to get an email notification when your package is counted. And then with that, we also have volunteers who are helping packaging and shipping the cards to our nonprofits around the world. And it's great. We're working with, you know, Make-A-Wish, Ronald McDonald House. You know, we've done stuff with Amnesty International, all kinds of nonprofits, Bethany Christian Services, all nonprofits of all sizes all around the world. Little bit of the places we've sent cards to. I think we've touched on most of these, but like seniors, like military and their families, foster homes, all these different kinds of places where we've been able to send our cards to. So kind of what I was touching on is the name is outdated, but the overall meaning of getting these encouraging cards is still valuable. And kind of what I was touching on a little bit before, now at up to 50 plus countries. And that's a big thing too, is with people with the different languages. I know there was a nonprofit, someone who's a pitcher for the White Sox as a foundation, and they asked for 3,000 cards in Spanish each quarter that they're taking to the Dominican Republic. Then we have cards that are going to Puerto Rico, and cards that are going to Spain, and cards that are going to Mexico. And yeah, and that's all on top of our cards across the US. So always looking for more cards in Spanish. That's one of the big needs that we have. So it's we got a few places in Central America, but it's fortunate the only place we have right now in South America is Brazil, based on it's with Portuguese, so we have a little bit more fluidity because the Spanish cards were always such high demand that we don't have ability to flex out as much in South America. as I should say, as of yet. So hopefully we'll be able to get more cards in Spanish, so we'll be able to do that. I don't know if anyone in this call would be asking this, but a question we often get about volunteer hours, and that's not something um, we do. We're only doing that for some people who are doing the behind the scenes counting and packaging of the cards. This, I think, from different ways to get involved. I think everyone here, as you're kind of referring to, like the card making, whether it's doing the stuff at work or that's kind of one of the big things, because the more cards we get, the more we expand. Also looking for more people in the Chicago area to help with the counting and packaging. So if any of you guys are in Chicago, we have events on the first, usually the first and third Sunday to do that. We always have those up on our website. And then another way is donations, because that's something that's always going into covering the postage, covering the shipping. So if there's companies who are doing it, we can also like track those, because you can see in the picture on the bottom central, that's one of the portable entertainment systems that we send to some of our partners. You can sponsor one of those and go to one of the ribbon cutting events. So that comment we've questioning, like with COVID, you know, how is it going? Are we still going based on it? So yes, we are. We've been accepting cards throughout the pandemic, before and after. So I think with us, it was a little bit received a big influx of cards during the pandemic, and things have kind of, or during the peak of the pandemic, I should say, things have kind of slowed down. So still trying to find ways to now recruit groups and individuals to continue to make cards, because it seems like our demand for it has picked up a bit. I think we touched on some of these before a little bit earlier, in terms of the kind of paper, the messaging that to do. And the last part is the kind of stuff to attach to it. So we have with this kind of here referring to fuzz balls and pipe cleaners. One, the first point here is they don't stick as well to the cards, because you have to imagine shipping them to us and then us shipping them to our partners all over. So they often fall off. But then what's a little bit more important to us is the people we're serving are often have compromised immune systems. And so those kinds of stuff that's a little bit more fuzzy holds on to germs more. So we're requesting people not to use those kinds of things that spread germs. And then it's with this, like, if people about making holiday cards or seasonal cards, it's a big, huge uplift for cards that can be used year round. You know, so it's not where there's a set time frame. This card has to go out by this date, because oftentimes people will be more like, you know, it's the summertime, I'm in a summer mood, let me make a summer card now. But kind of what we saw, like that card may be trying to go from here to California, or here to Alaska, or Hawaii, or, you know, the UK, et cetera. And then a lot of our partnerships, like Make-A-Wish, you know, sending them 1,000 cards, we have to send it to them, and then they have to send it to their children. So just more, a little bit easier when the cards aren't seasonal. And then what was touched on, these are just some of the languages that are needed. The big ones, kind of what they're called out at the top with Romanian, just because we have a couple different Ronald McDonald houses in Romania. But Spanish, like we were touching on, is trying to increase our presence in for one, the big need here in the US, but then also trying to increase our presence in South America. Mhm. And with this is when it's after cards are made, and this is all on the website as well, but when sending them, it's to like on the outside of the package. One thing is like, for example, like a lot of people, what they do is, you know, send it to us and then just include, you know, Lee Sillig from Lee and, you know, George, whatever, and then don't include the company name. And so we would assume like, oh, Lee just made these 1,000 cards on his own, you know, but don't include anything about the company name or something like that. So just trying to find a way, like even if you made them and sent them from home, find some way to include the company on there who deserves the credit for it. So this is just an example of how one UBS, one of our most consistent groups, did that, listed it on there. And then another thing is always valuable for us when people include some of the languages that are in there as well. So that way we can be able to quickly pull those ones out when needed.
No, I have a question about the languages. When we, because I work for a company that has a diverse amount people from all across the world that work for our company. So we have several languages in there. Can they make it in their language, or does it need to be one of those languages that are listed?
As of right now, one of these are listed. So it's like, actually in German is not on here, and German was recently added. But it's because for some, trying to think of a common one that's not on here. But yeah, because some of the other, these are places where our partners have requested these languages. So we don't have partners who requested cards in other languages. Like, so something like what we have a bunch is cards in Ukrainian. So we've talked to our partner, Ronald McDonald Houses in Romania, and reached out to different places in Ukraine and trying to see, like, you know, do you need any cards? Can we get you some cards? But, you know, I literally have their hands full, can't get much of a response. So those kinds of cards in those other languages that we don't have a current partnership, like, kind of are sitting on hold. And it's kind of a shame if someone's working on that card and we're not able to deliver it just based on that language.
I got one question about like shipping. So me and my friend are starting a cards for Kids chapter at our school, and we were just wondering if like there were any times where the organization wouldn't be accepting cards, or like maybe, you know, there's set times. Are there?
That's we accept cards all year round, all the time.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it's there's some organizations and some stuff like who only do stuff around seasons and etc. But it's, you know, so there's a blog post, what is it called? I think it's Today's Special. And I think it's all about like, you know, using different, like, you know, do we accept around Valentine's Day? Do we accept around Christmas? Do we accept, you know, yes, we can do that. We do it all the time. But it's like, you know, do we accept on, I think it was like March 9th, or do we accept on August 5th? Like stuff that's not related to a season at all. And it's like, yes,
Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah,
those
that's
are
what I
more
was wondering.
those are more valuable because it's if you look into, I did a live from our storage unit. It was that time like empty, besides hundreds of Christmas cards and Halloween cards. Because it's like people will make a bunch of Christmas cards and send them to us on like December 22nd, you know, and it's
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm not going to be able to get this out to kind of what I was touching on before, out to our different partners right before, in order for them to get it to the final hands right around Christmas time. Or
Yeah.
same thing with Halloween. So it's much what we were touching on before, much more valuable if it's a card that's non-seasonal.
So, okay. Yeah.
So it's like if it was this, pulling out the other one here, why is the eagle a bird of many skills? He is talented. Never forget how awesome you are. You know, just something like that. And that's could be delivered in December, could be delivered in February, could be delivered in March, could be
Okay,
delivered on
so
Cards for Kids Day, August 5th, whatever.
all right, so we can just try our best to make the cards like usable anytime, not
Yes,
just like okay, yeah.
those
All
are the
right.
most valuable. Okay. Yeah, sorry, this we got a new email, so now we now upgraded a little bit to photos at cardsforkids.org. And it's on the website. We'll have it's on there, but mailing the cards, we have that on there. And then it's just the big thing is we get, well, if you look on our social media, you'll see a lot of pictures of cards, but not as nearly as many pictures of what you see on the right side. You know, people with their cards. You know, so Lee, like you were talking about an event for your company, like not as many companies take. I know there's a company who sent pictures, and it was like pictures of everyone with their heads down working, and it's like working on the car. Like I had to follow up, like, do you have any pictures of people smiling? It's you know, hashtag we like to use is volunteering is fun. You know, it's okay for people to smile at work, right? Like, okay, and then, you know, sent some of those afterwards. So those kinds of things are trying to, you get all kinds of comments about, oh, this was so much fun, we enjoyed doing it. And it's like, let's do that. Let's show and prove to people and kind of give some illustration that, you know, that's one thing I say is don't know. It's a debate between who enjoys it the most. The nonprofits who are now have something to give to the people they serve, the people who are receiving the cards, you know, the kids and parents and seniors who are feeling lonely, left out, or the people who are making the cards. You know, people are making cards, you get to use markers, whatever, you know, everyone. I don't really know who's enjoying it the most. I can't tell you. I've seen the, you know, I told you that story about the little boy running to show his parents. I don't know. So that's a debate there.
I know for my teams, the second time we did it, because I'm a volunteer guide at my store, I've had a lot of people come to me and say, you know, we enjoyed this so much. I hope we do it again. And that's why we keep doing it, because I have a lot of compassionate people there that just want to put good back out into the world. That's why we love this organization.
Yeah, it's a big difference. Are you able to say which store it is? Which
I can. So I work for Apple as a company. So we've donated, and a lot of our, like, I'm sure you're getting cards from a lot of different stores through the US and Canada. But we don't, when we send it, I doubt that we send it with our name attached to it.
yeah, that it's yes, but I can say with a lot of I know about you guys. I know all about it, and about to make a trip to Minnesota because it's one of those people. But a lot of time, my special request there is with a lot of those people include I don't know if it's an automatic um, thing, but it just says AI, and it's part of the return label. And I see it and I know I'm like, oh, that's Apple. I'm getting a bunch of those. But some of now that we're having more recruiting or volunteer events, not everyone knows AI equals Apple or whatever, you know. So if able to write that out, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I'll look into it. I know like there's a lot of privacy when it comes to how we give back to our communities.
Yes.
Just because we're not the voice for the organization, so that's why we do things a certain way.
I I know. I'm smiling because this is being recorded, else I would say something. But yes, understood completely. All right. So this part here, a lot of people saying, did we get the cards? Were they received? So it's, if you check on our social media, we'll see we're completely going wild this week. A lot of stuff, posting all of it. But if it's the way, Donna said, like if you had something, like if your nonprofit or your group had something and you wanted to get notification, it's something if you included on a note in your package with your nonprofit's Instagram handle,
Okay,
that would be a way to, the volunteers include that in there. And that way, when we post the picture of those cards, then you'll get like that kind of notification. So we are, like one of the social posts was there when Salesforce made the cards. We are working with Salesforce to be able to get it. We're asking people to include emails as well, where it'll be more formal. We have a set of volunteers working to build up that process for people to be able to get email notifications. But as of right now, the process is using like kind of instant Instagram and Twitter, because that's one way we can get notifications. But we are working on that process this way. Well, it'll be two different ways, whether it's through images or automated email down the line.
great, thank you.
Okay. And just kind of the final step. So there is, what is let's say Facebook, Instagram, they're new, I guess. We don't have that image on here yet, but that is, we are on there a little bit, don't have as much of a presence, but you can kind of check us out, seeing some more stuff on social media. We're strong presence on there, and just definitely reach out if there are any other kinds of immediate questions and stuff. Just want to say thank you guys very much, because it's I don't know any of you guys are part of the Facebook group, but it's been not sure exactly. Well, kind of what keeps happening to me is I keep jinxing myself. I haven't learned my lesson. So it was like one time I reached out, the beginning of COVID, we reached out to some senior homes who had been making cards. And I'm like, I just wanted to check in on you guys, see how you were doing. Did you need any cards? And they're like, oh yes, that'd be great if we could have like, I remember they said like thousands. And I'm like, oh, we've only received a few cards for seniors. I was thinking they wanted like 100, but it was like thousand. Like, wow, okay. And then I didn't learn my lesson. So later on, something touched me, reached out to this other nonprofit. I'm like, yeah, I remember we sent you cards before. Like, did you guys need some cards this year? And they're like, oh, that's great. I was just thinking of reaching out to you. Can you send us 90,000? You said 90? 90,000? Okay. Interesting. So it's yeah, then it was like the next day someone reached out. I was like, we're trying to get 50,000 cards for the Michigan State event, and then all these things. So yeah, we're needing more cards than ever right now. So trying to find ways to get more people involved. So thank you guys for making cards and helping us at least get close to these goals.
Absolutely.
Were there any other questions or?
I don't think so. I'll go ahead.
I think what you gave me today will certainly help when I make the presentation to our chapters in those states, and they'll be ready to get started. Thank you.
Sounds good. Nick, did you have any questions or?
I don't think I had any other questions. I know that German was recently added, so I'll make sure, because I have a keynote to present to the store to just get to see if I can get more people engaged. So I'll make sure that I get German added to that. I've taken a bunch of screenshots from the website from all the PDFs that are throughout the website.
Okay, I'm going to post something here in the chat just for you to see. Direct message for you. There we go.
Okay.
That's for about you guys. So, all right. So thank you guys. Just feel free to reach out if there are any questions or anything else like that. And thank you very much. We'll look forward to your cards.
Okay, thank you for your time.